I call this Monday, February 27th, 2023 meeting of the Lake Havasu Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting to order. Can all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Move on to item number 3, the roll call.
Sherry Butler.
Here.
Kyler Cox.
Here.
Shannon Murray.
Here.
Ashley Pasquale. Here. Alex Ross.
Here.
Philip Shannon.
Here.
Todd Taylor. Alexis Wolf.
Here.
Natalie Strader.
Here.
And Vice Mayor David Lane.
Here.
All righty, thank you. We want to, with that being said, that the Vice Mayor is here, we'd like to take a second to have you introduce yourself. Welcome to the board, sir. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you heard, my name's Dave Lane. I've been on the city council this is my 7th year. This is my third term, third one-year term as the Vice Mayor. And I've been waiting for this board to come open for 7 years. And when Council Member Lynn said that she was going to step aside, that she had been here long enough and was going to go on to some other boards, I jumped at the chance and I pulled seniority, being one of the senior people on the council. Jenny Koch also wanted to take it, but she couldn't get away on Monday nights, and I can. So I pulled seniority, and I'm here and happy to be here and look forward to working with you all.
Awesome. Well, I can tell you, and I probably speak for the rest of the board, we appreciate you being here and we appreciate your time, and we appreciate as a board being heard. So it's our pleasure to have you for sure. All right, we'll move on to item number 4, call to the public. We will now have an open call to the public for citizens wishing to address the board on issues within the jurisdiction of the board. Your comments must be limited to 3 minutes or less. If you wish to address an item already on today's agenda, you should wait until the item is announced for a public hearing. At the conclusion of the open call to the public, individual members of the board may respond to criticism made by those who've addressed the board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask for a matter to be placed on a future agenda. However, board members cannot discuss or take legal action on matters not already on the agenda. So with that being said, is there anybody here today that'd like to address the board? Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and other board members. I see some familiar faces, and for those that don't know me, my name is Justin Wilson. I am a 28-year resident of Lake Havasu. And next week will be my 18th anniversary as an employee by the city. So I come here tonight to bring to your attention the youth sports facilities around our city and the attention that they need. I grew up playing youth sports here. My children play youth sports here. And in seeing the facilities and their deterioration and the way they are being kept up, they need to be addressed, and we need to move forward as a city to build better complexes for our youth, for all sports, not just baseball and softball, but basketball as well as football. My children played travel soccer for the past 4 years, and we went to many facilities across the state where they just leveled ground and made grass and put some lights up so they can get soccer fields, and it brings in money. There was just a big tournament last weekend up in Bullhead, 3-day tournament where teams come from all over Southern California and Arizona and Nevada to play in this tournament. It brings them millions of dollars every year, and they do it twice a year, each tournament. My son now plays for a club baseball team where we travel. This past weekend, we just went to Maricopa, Arizona, where they are almost identical in size. They're about 62,000 people, and they have more baseball and softball facilities than we do, and they're much nicer. I would like that if we do move forward and we start moving and progressing, that the board asks that a committee of people who play the sports be on there and help them design and build and redo these fields. That way they are properly done. You know, I know there was a proposal by the city a couple of years ago for a $12 million field down past the racetrack, west of the racetrack. I don't think that needs to be done like that. We have the land already there at Sarah Park. It just needs to be redone. Tear them down and redo them properly. update them instead of having to do all that major earthwork further on down the road. It could save you money if you just did it properly and correctly. Same with the football field on the island. That football field, I think they just redid it. The Chiefs just raised some money to do some upgrades to it. But if you ask the parents and the kids, they're constantly being bitten by ants out there on the field. Same with that softball field that's out there. It doesn't get used because of the issue with the bugs and the ants out there. That could be used and turned into a better baseball field. The junior high uses ASU as their baseball field. That thing is what, 40 years old? The dugouts are tiny. It's parked right next to cars parking. Foul balls, any balls are hitting cars. It's not ideal for where kids should be playing baseball. Soccer, we have Cypress Park, yes. But if you take a look at the upper part of Cypress Park, you can't even fit a legal full-size soccer field on that field. They put a light post in the corner that has to have a pad around it because it's too close to where the end lines would be. So I think if you do something, which we should do it correctly the first time and move forward and get it done. But you need a committee of people who actually are involved with the sports to help you guys figure that out. And I really want to see that move forward. And I know I have a bunch of people who will be coming to every meeting and city council meeting to get this moved. I know that, we keep seeing record numbers of sales tax revenue, and I know our costs are going up as well as a city to pay for everything that we're doing, but I think it's time that the city invests in the future of the youth a little more and update what we can. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming tonight. Anybody else would like to address the board and call to the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the January 23rd, 2023 meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 23rd, 2023 meeting minutes.
Great. We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Alrighty. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We'll move on to item 6.1, staff report. Director Keene?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our spring break camp for children in kindergarten through fifth grade will be held at Smoke Tree Elementary School from March 20th to March 24th. Registration for this program will begin on Monday, March 6th. The fee is $41 for the first child and $32 for each additional child. Teen Break will take place March 21st, 22nd, and 23rd at Rotary Park from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Registration began this morning. The fees for that program are $41 per student in grades 6 through 12. Activities will include the gaming trailer, beach volleyball, kayaking, paddleboarding, RC plane flying, an Army boot camp, a DJ and live music, and many other contests and prizes. The aquatic staff will be conducting CPR training for the park staff on March 1st and 8th, and for the wastewater staff on March 13th and 15th. The NOVA graduation will be held on March 3rd, which also includes a swim party after the graduation. Kinder Swim program will be held during the weeks of March 6th, 13th, and 27th. After school program will be swimming on March 9th and March 30th. We have a new hire training for the fire department where we go through some of their skill sets in the pool on March 10th. Spring break, we'll have additional open swims on March 20th, 22nd, and 24th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. The spring break camp will be swimming on March 21st and 23rd. And the Lake Havasu High School Fire Department CTE class will do some water training on March 30th. Some events in the community center. AC/DC tribute concert tomorrow on February 28th. ABBA tribute concert March 1st. Again, the NOVA graduation is March 3rd. An Alabama tribute concert March 5th. Fleetwood Mac tribute concert, March 6th. Art Guild Spring Show will be held March 11th and 12th. There will be a Lifeline screening on March 13th. Rock and Roll Reignited will be held on March 14th. The Arizona Collectibles and Firearms Show, March 18th and 19th. Western Welcomes Bunko Party will be March 20th. The Havasu Stitchers Sew Staycation will be March 21st through the 23rd. National Quilt Day, March 25th. A Bob Seger tribute concert, March 26th. Soul R&B Motown concert, March 27th. Some events happening around town and out in our parks. The Havasu Deuces Car Show will be at Rotary Park on March 4th. A memorial walkway dedication under the London Bridge on March 12th. The Lake Havasu Scooter Competition at the Tennell Memorial Sports Park, March 18th. Bands and Brew by the Beach at London Bridge Beach on March 18th. Lake Havasu Triathlon will be held at Lake Havasu State Park, and they'll be running through Rotary Park as well on March 18th. The Rotary Club will be putting on a cornhole tournament at London Bridge Beach on March 18th. And the Havasu Havoc mountain bike race at Sarah Park Rodeo Grounds will also be March 18th. That concludes my report. With that, I'll take any questions.
Great report. Any questions for the director? Comments? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Keene. I first wanted to say my appreciation for the Parks and Recreation staff, the youth programs, sports programs, the camps. They're always well done, and I appreciate that. I also have noticed that a lot of most of the youth-based programs, athletic programs and camps rely on volunteers. I see requests for volunteers, and I think that's awesome that we have community members that will volunteer their time and donations and other things. I am concerned, though, that those programs rely on that volunteer. So for Teen Break and also some of the athletic programs I know haven't been able to go run in the past because of a lack of volunteers. And I'm wondering why those programs need to rely on volunteers and donations, and how that's determined. For example, I don't see any requests for volunteers for like the water aerobics classes and things like that that are geared more towards serving an older population. Do you have any? And I know this isn't a discussion item, so.
Sure. Both Teen Break and our camps, yes, we do rely heavily on volunteers, but we do also have staff there as well, paid staff members, both part-time and full-time. The volunteers help supplement that, keeps the cost down for everybody, for the city, and is a great resource for us to be able to utilize those volunteers. In this time, we are still struggling to find staff, so that's a great way for us to help supplement that as well.
Anybody else? I'll just comment and say, I love seeing these directors' reports as full as they are. I know, you end up talking a lot, but we like to hear you when it comes to these things. This is why we all live in Lake Havasu, is because of these events and these great things that go on in our community. And, I like to see, like Ms. Peschel said, I like to see the kid programs and the programs for the children and the youth. I mean, this city, we're kind of isolated when it comes to things for our youth to be able to do to keep those kids busy. So when I see these things, it's, this is what I like to see. And this is what I think the city needs to keep in mind and remember, that, our youth is what is the future of our community. And if we can groom our youth to do great things by having these events, I think we're going to win that for sure. Again, the Havasu Deuces Car Show, Band and Brews, the triathlons, things like that. Again, great things. And we appreciate your staff for working hard to make sure these things happen. So again, thank you. We appreciate you guys. Does anybody else have anything for the director? Okay. All right, we will move on to public hearings. Item 7.1, discussion the downtown catalyst project update. Director King?
Perfect. Thank you. Just some updates since our last meeting. The grant that we applied for through Arizona State Parks and Trails did go through the Arizona Outdoor Recreation Coordinating Commission, who did recommend full funding of that. And then the following week, the Arizona State Parks and Trails Board themselves reviewed the project and also recommended full funding. So two huge hurdles there. We do have one more to go through. The National Park Service reviews that application as well. From what I'm told, that's really a checking boxes, making sure that everything is in place as far as some of the environmental concerns that could possibly happen in some of these projects. So really looking good for that extra $1 million towards the project. Working with Dig Studios, they will be doing a presentation to City Council on March 28th. In those conversations with them over the last couple of weeks, what we're going to do is present the project to council, and then with the cost estimating in 3 different sections. One will be the ABC dollars. That was what they were charged with from council initially. So they will show exactly what we could get for the leftover $815,000 of that original ABC dollars. And then they will do another section with adding the Arizona State Parks and Trails grant for the $1 million, so at $1.8 million. And then they will do a final presentation or section that is the complete build out. So those will be the 3 areas that they'll kind of work through to show council what the differences are in those dollars and what they could do. I'll be honest, we've been working with those numbers back and forth, and we're not really set on what that final build out number will be. It's looking like a range between $2.5 and $3 million as the total. So, again, we have the money from the grant and the ABC dollars that would come away from that. And so the question, would come to is from council, basically that additional dollars in the full build out from the 1.8 million is the shade structure and what it really all encompasses. So, but they'll go through that in detail to council on the 28th and discuss what those options will be, if that is something that we look at phasing at a different time. I know this board has been very vocal about not liking the idea of phasing because sometimes the next phase of that project doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen in the same intention. It obviously costs a little bit more to phase projects, but those will be all part of that discussion. So that's kind of where we sit today. With that, I'll take any questions.
Great update. Questions, comments for the director? Figured there'd be more. Anybody? I know somebody's got something.
I'll say congratulations on the grant application. That's fantastic.
I'll say something. I don't know what else there is to say on this project at this point, but we'll be looking forward to after the 28th. With the grant funding, is there, and again, I don't know the exact timelines and everything, but will we be able to have that funding in hand by the time Dig would, or whoever would start working and breaking ground?
Yes, we would.
I did have a question about those price tiers. So the way those are kind of organized, you'd have that lowest amount of $815,000 being more of, you said, the phased construction, and then the price that's still to come would be the complete build out all at once, correct? Okay, thank you.
A couple things that, I just want to ask and clarify. The grant that you did apply for, what was the match requirement?
It is a 1-to-1 match. So what is nice is that the engineering dollars that we have already spent, or design dollars on the project, can also be used. So that $1 million from the ABC competition, those funds are our matching funds for the grant. So there is no additional dollars that need to come forward for that match. I will add one other piece to that is one of the grant's requirements were the item being heard through public meetings. So I want to thank the board. This item obviously has been on our agenda month after month after month, and we kind of get sick of seeing it. We don't see a ton of projects of updates that are great substance, but having these on our agenda every month was a huge factor in us so far achieving this grant. So,
Yeah, good to hear. I can say that, that some of the questions I was getting asked is why didn't we apply for more? And that's why I asked what the matching fund was. So essentially we applied for as much as we could with the money to match it, correct?
The $1 million was the highest that the grant would award currently.
Perfect. So with that being said, like we talked about and you mentioned it, we're a little off still if we're potentially on the full build out. If we have 1.8, let's say the grant does go through, we have 1.8 in our pocket and full build out's 2.5 to 3. And this may be a question for the vice mayor, I guess. What's our next goal or what's our next process if I guess it'd be up to the council, correct?
Mr. Chairman, yes. What would have to happen would the council would have to approve any additional dollars. I can tell you that during past discussions, there have been council members that have said that they do not want to put any additional funding into the project, that they feel that we purchased the land for $1.1 million 6 years ago. And then we'll have the $1 million. And then the other $1 million, if we get the grant, that's $3 million. They really don't want to put more money than that into it. But then again, until we see that product on the 28th, we don't really know. Everybody needs money. This project needs money. Our other parks needs money. This building alone has $4 million worth of deferred maintenance on it. This building needs money. So it will really come down to priorities and where we can put the money. And then there may be other grants that we can apply for as well that will link. And excuse me, Mr. Keen and I have talked about this before. Through the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, right across the wash there is our parking lot. That's the city parking lot. There may be some grants to be able to fund part of this project, linking that parking lot to this project, which would link our business or our busing hub for the transportation to our downtown gathering place and our public shopping. So there may be some other additional dollars that we may be able to come up with as we move along. I'm not a big person that thinks, okay, let's piecemeal it out. It never gets done. A prime example is this room right here. This is on loan from the police department. This is their training room. And we said we would build a council chambers one day. The building, the city's been here since 1978, and they've still never built a council chambers. So we just borrow space where we need it, which is fine. It's just those things never happen when we start piecemealing things out. So we just have to wait and see. And if there's money available, then we'll be able to use it. If there's not, then we won't. But that'll be up to the council.
Great. No, I think that's exactly what I was looking for. That's the information I think that we all wanted to hear. So again, thank you for that. As I know the board's been vocal, but I know I've been very vocal. I disagree with phases. I think if we're going to do a project, let's finish it. Let's get where we need to be with what we have right now. So my 2 cents. But I did want to add that I did attend the Lake Havasu Rotary Brews and Brats Festival this last weekend, which was held at the parcel on Querio McCulloch, and it was full. And the weather was not promising that day. Ended up being a fairly nice day, but I took it upon myself to ask and talk with a handful of people, and the outpouring of support was great. I talked about the Catalyst project and the plans that were kind of in place now, what we do have. And again, as always, not one negative thing. There was not one person that said, don't do it. Every single person I spoke with, up in the higher 20s of people, or the number was in the high 20s that I spoke with, they were all in agreement that we should proceed with some sort of, multi-use Catalyst event space that can be used all the time. So again, I think we're heading down the right road for sure. And the last thing I'll just end it with is it hasn't been, for me personally, it hasn't been an annoyance seeing it on the agenda. I am a big proponent in bettering our community. I think we live in a great community, but it can always be better. So I think it being on here every single time is a benefit to everybody. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I can add on to that, and I'm glad you guys feel that way. When the city asked that the Parks and Rec take on this project and be the overseers, that's exactly what we wanted you guys to do, is to look at this and vet every stage of it, which we thoroughly appreciate. You guys do great work, and it doesn't go unnoticed. I sat on the PED board, the Partnership for Economic Development, back when we started First Fridays. If you guys remember, if you ever go out on First Friday. And part of that was to try to prove that this is a viable product by moving forward. It really does enhance the downtown area. First Fridays has been extremely successful. And now we're ready to move that out of that small space and into the big space on this piece of land. And what you guys have done is made it so that can happen. And just like you have said, I've been talking to people for the last 7 years on this project. And I shouldn't say there's no backlash on it, but the vast majority of the people and the business owners downtown want this project to be built down there. So the fact that you guys are taking the lead and really looking at this is truly appreciated. And we thank you for that.
No, thank you. I think we all appreciate hearing that. With that being said, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to address the board in reference to the Downtown Catalyst project update? All right. Nobody? Good topic. You sure? No, I'm waiting. I know why you're here, Doug. All right. Seeing none. I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments or questions from the board?
On here. Yeah, one brief one probably ties into this just a little bit with the parks and trails. I'm also on the board of the Peace Trail organization, if you're familiar with that. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions on how we can expand that and keep that project going forward, we meet monthly at various locations. The last meeting was in Parker, and just want to say that that's really a board that has a lot of energy, and they've done a whole lot of work, and that trail is almost 700 miles long, probably the longest in the country. And with all of our side-by-side jeeping activities, it ties right into Havasu, goes through Kingman, and there's a great website and a lot of very fascinating literature, Arizona history, and so on and so forth. But just wanted to make the board aware that we're participating in that as well. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to item 7.2, discussion of the Aquatic Center HVAC project update. Director Keene.
Thank you. So we did have some work done early February. Those overnight work. If any of you have walked into the lobby of the Aquatic Center, currently most of the ceiling tiles are out as we're waiting for the next step of the work to be done. But there was quite a bit of work done in the ceiling area during this overnight work done in the locker rooms that we just could not do during the day. So there's some installation of exhaust fans. Really now the project is on hold until we can receive the rest of the units to go and be mounted onto the ceiling. Many of those are due into our contractor late March. There's another big unit due in May, and then the last one is in August, but they're really pushing to see if they can get the vendor to be able to supply that unit a little earlier. Obviously, we want to be able to eliminate some of that humidity and cool the area before the heat of the summer. So, so right now we're kind of in a holding pattern waiting on supplies.
Great.
That'll take any questions.
Any questions or comments for the director? I'll just tell you, I was there Sunday for some training for my real job, and your staff is amazing. They're, again, Swan was there, everybody was there, and they're super helpful, super willing to help. So you got a good thing going over there, but it was cool. It was great to see the progress. This is a public hearing. Anybody that would like to address the board from the public about the Aquatic Center HVAC project update? Okay, seeing none, close the public hearing. Any final comments or questions for the director? All right, moving right along. We will move to item 7.3, discussion of the pickleball court update.
Well, I don't know if everybody will be happy or sad, but this will be the last time you see this item on the agenda currently. The pickleball courts did open as a grand opening last Tuesday morning to a very good sized crowd that was out there. And as part of that grand opening, we did a dedication and we named the pickleball complex, so all the courts that are out there, after the donor. As you may have noticed in your board communication, it changed from anonymous donor just to donation. So those courts are now the Mike Delaney Pickleball Complex at Dick Sant Park. So there's a large sign out there in front of the courts, and we now have 16 pickleball courts up and running. With that, I'll take any questions.
Great. Questions or comments for the director?
I apologize. I couldn't be there on Tuesday. I had to work, but I did take the chance to go up there this weekend for Pickle Fest and see a little bit. I wanted to make sure I went up there before this meeting so I could be aware of the changes in the building and everything. So it looks really great. It looks really professional. People were out there for Pickle Fest having a great time. It was well attended. It sounds like, and Doug, I'll let you speak a little bit, but some additional work possibly thinking of in terms of lighting and things like that might be beneficial to have, but I may piggyback after Mr. Carr. So.
Thank you. No, I'll just echo that. I was there today. I just left baseball practice and came here, and I went over and checked the courts out again. Beautiful courts. I'll say it now that we can say the name, but thank you to Mike Delaney for making that happen. It's people like that live in this community. It's amazing. What a city we live in to have people that are willing to put that kind of expense and effort towards doing something they truly believe in. This is a public hearing. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. This may not be the last time it's on our agenda because I agree. And with such a wonderful and amazing donation that has added up to quite an amount over time, and the commitment that the city has put towards that, I think that we have to have lighting out there in order for it to be utilized. Especially when it's hot and you can't go during the day. And so going in and enjoying those facilities, you have to do that after the sun sets and it's dark. And are the baseball fields, do they have lighting?
Yes.
Okay, so there's some kind of infrastructure there that can hopefully be added on to. So I wanted to add on to what Ms. Wolf said, that I think those beautiful courts, if our residents can use them when in the evenings or early mornings, that we should have lighting. I don't know if that's something that this board wants to promote.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Questions? All right. This is a public hearing, so I will open it to the public or members of the public to address the board on the pickleball court update. Now's the time. Now's the time, Mr. Carr.
Doug Carr, and thanks, Ashley, Alexis. That was a nice. Yeah, we got the last 4 courts built. There was over 100, maybe 150 people there on Tuesday for the dedication, and it was really nice. I didn't know they were going to name it after the complex after Mike, and that was great. It was really well received, and he is appreciative of it. And Yeah, the lighting is an issue. We had our pickleball fest and had 150 people. All 16 courts were being used. We could have used a couple more at times during the day because, they had to wait on courts, but it was still nice. And those are some of the best pickleball courts in Arizona because they are all individually fenced. And the windscreens that the association has put up helped because I was up there today playing and all 16 were being used and there were people waiting even at noon today. And those windscreens really do help. And I think we need to put some more up on a few other walls out there, but we could use more. And I appreciate you coming up and asking questions. That was nice to show you, how it got started. 6 years ago, we didn't have courts. We were playing at London Bridge Beach. And now we have 16 in 6 years or 7 years. So it is nice to see. And I told Mr. Lane, as soon as I get lights, then I'll be quiet. And he appreciated that. But, lights would be appreciated. And I found out today, we need 8 light poles and just out of company out of Wisconsin, $13,000 for the light poles and lights. That doesn't count for the conduit or the wire or any of the other stuff. And so I know it's doable. The association has $50,000 to put towards that. So the city needs to come up with it and just get it done. And hopefully they could get it done before the summer. But I know that's wishing a lot for how the city can get things done. And good luck with the soccer field. Dick Samp has a lot of room up there. They could put soccer up there. And then they could put some more restrooms because we had to bring in 4 more porta potties for the tournament this week. So there is only 2 restrooms up there, and we do have 1 porta potty that's permanent up there right now. So it is doable, but more restrooms up there and water and electricity too. To put lights up there, we had to string a cord across to the park host across the road to run the computers and the PA system for the tournament this weekend. And so cars were going over and lucky it didn't break and then, put a hamper on things to get that done. So electricity would be nice to be over there. So, that's all I got to say. Any questions? Sherry?
Yeah, I know you're the expert. So I know that you probably know how many of those enthusiastic pickleball players are winter visitors and are going to be gone this summer. I'm
Correct.
just curious.
Half. There's a lot of that come in just for a weekend that live in California and live here and come and play pickleball, year round. The aquatic center is busy during the summer when it's open, because it's indoors and during the days. We did have a high school senior play in our tournament, and she had a 14-year-old friend play with her. And so it was pretty awesome to see that. So,
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Carr? Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else from the public that would like to address the board on this topic? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any final comments or questions on the pickleball court update?
Yeah, again, I just want to thank everybody, both citywide and private citizen-wise, for all their work on this project and everything. It really is great. And yeah, it reminds me as we're talking about phase work and everything and doing phases. Obviously something maybe not missed, but with the lights and everything, I think being able to have that, like you said, Ashley or Ms. Pasquale, that was one of my things, that when it gets so warm and it gets so hot outside, being able to have that at night. And again, we're always talking about things for kids, things for youth, things to do. Seeing the great pickleball courts and the renovations and everything, there is stuff, out there to do. It's just kind of connecting the populations, I think. And so being able to maybe broaden that out and get some more younger kids and everything and get a new generation going might be helpful. So,
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, move on to item 8, future discussion items. Would anybody like to add or discuss, or a topic to discuss at a future meeting?
I'd just like to add to Mr. Wilson's comments about the fields. Is that something that we could put on the agenda and talk about the feasibility of creating new fields or improving the fields we have? My daughter also plays travel soccer, and we've gone to some pretty incredible facilities. There's outside funding for those, I'm sure, but we just went to the Bullhead tournament, and it was at Rotary Park in Bullhead, and their fields were incredible. We come back to Havasu for practice, and all our fields are dead. And, the lines on the field are painted by volunteers, parents that have kids that play. I would really like to see a tournament come here. Like you said, there's a lot of money in it. Havasu's a vacation destination, and people would love to come here in the cooler months to participate in soccer tournaments. So if there's a way we can at least look into that and see what the feasibility is, I'd like to see that. Baseball, softball, football.
So let me rein this in a little bit. I don't want to, we can't discuss this too much just because it's not on currently, but if I think what you're getting at is you'd like to see it potentially the discussion of our sports fields on a future agenda. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. I just need a second for that.
I'll second.
Okay. Got a second on that? Mr. King, do you need anything else?
No, I think we've got enough to bring something forward.
Okay. Perfect. Any other topics?
In the area of maybe past topics or ongoing topics in regards to revenue generating opportunities we've talked about at previous meetings, wanted to acknowledge our Mayor Cal, our Vice Mayor David, and Michelle, who have taken my little tour down there at the park. Again, I encourage those on the board to meet with our director and take a look at that location and have some more discussions about what kind of opportunities we can create down there on those fields when they're not being used. Music in the park's pretty worldwide and known, and we're probably not maximizing our opportunity in that area. It's an unused location of the park, and what we're talking about, and I'll be bringing forward some cost projections and proposals that we can discuss a little bit further, but that kind of thing to help pay for lighting, grass. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think the parks has an opportunity to maybe, in addition to the general fund, make a contribution to that general fund to help to pay for a lot of those services that the community is looking for. And thanks for the opportunity.
So I guess same thing. Are you trying to add an item in the future or?
Excuse me. No, it was just a follow-up to previous discussion. Just wanted to keep the board appraised of progress is still taking place.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any future discussion items that the board would like to add to a meeting?
Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Thank you. Quick context, just for the rest of the board who hasn't been on this board. Years ago, the Parks and Rec Board was asked to provide input on some ideas for a piece of land between Rotary Park and the Aquatic Center. And ideas were generated like half basketball court, a little bike pump track, and all kinds of really exciting possibilities for a small piece of land. And then it was determined that wasn't no project that we came up with was going to move forward. So I was wondering if perhaps we could have just an idea generating, taking into account what's been brought up today already, and maybe even resurrect that list if it still exists somewhere. But to look at this board making some proposals and some recommendations to City Council. It's been quite a while. Cypress was great, but that was a long time ago. And so I won't get into it any further than that, but that would be my request.
Director Keene, is that something that we can do, potentially add a discussion item on board's wish list?
I guess I'm unclear of an exact agenda item to draw out of that. Are you talking specifically for that piece of land?
Mr. Keene, no, unless that's still a possibility. But I am requesting or suggesting that the board have some kind of agenda item where we can talk openly about some of these ideas and needs that we're hearing and seeing. And that's not related to a specific project that already exists.
Maybe what I would suggest, and I don't know if it's an option, is can we add maybe an item onto future agendas that's like a committee type report for the board members? Is that maybe what you're asking, or maybe more of a time for us to speak about committee like agenda items, or not agenda items, but more of like an item that's more of a free speak? Is that what you're looking for?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but we can work it out and maybe put it on for the next month. I'll be able to articulate something more specific.
Okay. And I'm just kind of thinking in my head too of maybe some more board priorities. And I think that's a good opportunity with the new
Yes.
liaison to kind of discuss those. So definitely we could work on something like that.
I am always excited about a discussion about priorities and what our purpose is.
Is that something you'll need a second on, or is that just some direction?
If we're going to make it an agenda item going into our next board meeting, then I would need a second. If it's something that Ms. Pesco wanted to think on a little bit clearer and bring back, then I would not need a second on that.
How do you want to proceed? Did you want to look for a second, or did you want to just provide that direction maybe to Mr. Keene, and you can give us a little further direction next meeting?
I think I'll change my request and work on the other one a little bit more about a discussion about board priorities. Please.
Okay. And a second?
I'll second.
All right. We have a second. Anything else? This is good momentum. I like it. Let's keep it going. What else? Mr. Keene's going to have a full page of notes over there. What else we got? All right. Seeing no more. Any final comments for the good of the order? Okay. And we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate your time tonight.